Man, listen.
Didn't have a pot to piss in. That's the opening statement, not a complaint. Just the coordinates of the starting placement. Mother working doubles, father working on his absence. Two different kinds of labor, two completely different fractions of the same equation. I inherited at 7. By 8 I understood that waiting around for heaven to deliver what you needed was a losing calculation. So I watched the men who moved and studied their navigation. Not the ones who talked the loudest, not the ones with the most jewelry. Not the performance of survival, but the actual machinery of getting from nothing to something with your name still on it. Found 2 or 3 examples in a sea of men who squandered it, and I filed every detail like a student files a lesson. Cause nobody was offering a formal education session on the specific art of moving through a world that doesn't notice whether you make it or you don't. So I kept my own focus. Every single thing was earned, not a speech, just the accounting of what I learned. And that's not a wound I carry, it's the only education that I ever found necessary. Every single thing was earned, not a speech, just the accounting of what I learned. And that's not a wound I carry, it's the only education that I ever found necessary. Watch my uncle try to shortcut round about 91. Had the apartment, had the car, had a second one. Had everything assembled that looked like a rival, but the structure was all surface. Underneath was survival, borrowed time dressed up as ownership. I clocked it, and when it all collapsed I kept a lesson in my pocket. Not to judge him, I understand the architecture of the trap. How desperation makes a detour look like the right track. How a man who never got a fair accounting of his options makes decisions that look reckless from the outside looking in, but from inside the room where he was making them, it was the only calculation available when every legitimate road had a toll he couldn't pay. So we took the road that charged it differently. And I watched that too, filed it next to the examples of the contrary, and kept building my own map out of everything I witnessed.
Nothing came easy.
Every single thing was earned, not a speech, just the accounting of what I learned.
Nothing came easy.
And that's not a wound I carry, it's the only education that I ever found necessary.
Nothing came easy.
Every single thing was earned, not a speech, just the accounting of what I learned.
Nothing came easy.
And that's not a wound I carry, it's the only education that I ever found necessary. Yeah. Year 9 I'm building something from the raw materials. I look back at the distance and the math is aerial from where I started, which means the gap was crossable, even when every signal said it wasn't possible. And the signal came from everywhere, simultaneously. The institution, the neighborhood, the people who were casually certain about the ceiling of a man with my coordinates. Before I demonstrated anything, before the evidence was in, they'd written the conclusion in advance and handed me a script that I declined to perform. Not out of arrogance, out of information. Out of every example I'd assembled into navigation. Out of the uncle I watched and learned from backwards. Out of the men who moved in silence while the loudest ones got captured by the story that the system wrote about where they came from. I kept striving when striving was the only thing I came from.
Nothing came easy.
Every single thing was earned, not a speech, just the accounting of what I learned. And that's not a wound I carry, it's the only education that I ever found necessary. Hey. That's the whole record, keep moving.
Nothing came easy.
H1. Teach one. Except nobody taught us.
Sat in a classroom, 40 kids deep in September. By December, half the syllabus was gone. Can't remember learning anything about where my name came from, where my blood moved through before this country had us numb to the actual history. They decided wasn't relevant to the curriculum, which tells you everything about the sentiment of the institution toward the people. It was processing, not educating, sorting, labeling, and depositing into categories predetermined by the address on the intake form. From there, the whole process becomes about containment, dressed as preparation. They prepare you for the station they already assigned. Before you walk through the door, before a single sign of what you were capable of entered any record. That's not education, that's a holding pattern. And I sat inside it for 12 years before the matter became clear enough to name. By then I lost the time, had to go back and rebuild every foundation line by line. Teaching myself what the building should have given, becoming my own teacher while simultaneously living in a world that asks for credentials from the place that failed to prepare me. That's the particular disgrace nobody writes curriculum about. And out on the street, they gave us a ceiling and called it an education. And out on the street, gave us a partial map and called it navigation. We learned what they allowed and filled the rest ourselves. Every book they banned we found and put on our own shelves. Each one, teach one. When the institution failed, each one, reach one. When the knowledge got derailed. My grandfather could fix anything with his hands. Plumbing, electrical, engine. He had plans for every broken system in a 2-block radius. But nobody asked him into any classroom. No one made a fuss about the engineering in his fingers and his methods. The way he diagnosed the problem in 7 seconds, that would take a certified technician. In afternoon he learned it all from watching from a back room. Education at the institution, never sanctioned, never credited, never formally acknowledged or franchised into a degree that opened any door for him. So we stayed outside, brilliant, invisible, at the rim of every room where his knowledge should have seated him. And I carry every undegreed discipline that my people mastered in the margins of a system that was measuring the wrong things. That's the lesson I'm leaving on the record so the next one knows it coming in. They gave us a ceiling and called it an education. Gave us a partial map and called it navigation. We learned what they allowed and filled the rest ourselves. Every book they banned we found and put on our own shelves. Each one, teach one. When the institution failed, each one, reach one. When the knowledge got derailed. Now I'm on the swing. 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 So here's what actually got transmitted between us. Not through any classroom, through the specific genius of proximity of watching a being in the room. When the elders move through problems without the luxury of a formal framework, improvising mastery from whatever materials that they provided. That's the casualty of a miseducated generation, discovering the teachers were always there, just never covered in any literature the institution distributed. And the curriculum of survival, self-directed and self-attributed to nobody with a title when a tenure passed mouth to ear, hand to hand, a gesture across a kitchen table or a stoop or a repair shop, where the real transmission happened at the non-stop intersection of necessity and knowledge before it ever saw the inside of a college. That's the education that I'm putting on the record. Each one, teach one. That's how we recover. They gave us a ceiling and called it an education. Gave us a partial map and called it navigation. We learned what they allowed and filled the rest ourselves. Every book they banned we found and put on our own shelves. Each one, teach one. When the institution failed, each one, reach one. When the knowledge got derailed, got derailed, got derailed, got derailed, got derailed. They taught us what they wanted us to know. We learned everything else ourselves. That's the whole of it.
My brother, right? No doubt. Different roads, same blood. We came up in the same apartment building, same floor, shared a bunk bed for 3 years. Same snore, same breakfast, same corner, same faces in the morning, same set of rules we both got from the same warning our mother gave at the door before we hit the street. Same woman who made sure we both had shoes on our feet. When the month ran thin and options ran thinner, same table, same prayer before the same dinner. And then the roads diverged somewhere around 17, and the same address started meaning different things. You took one corridor and I took the adjacent. Neither one of us wrong, just different equations from the same starting point, same variables. And somehow we arrived at almost incomparable destinations, not in value, just in landscape. And now we too different, move through different airspace. I know what you mean, I felt it from my side too, watching you moving the rooms I never moved into. Not jealous of the journey, proud of every step, just aware of the growing distance, the widening of the depth between the versions of us that existed at the jump and the versions operating now. I feel the bump of unfamiliarity when we're in the same room sometimes, like we're translating each other's references in real time. And that's not lost exactly, more like evolution. Two branches from the same root finding their own solution to the problem of existing in this world, and neither branch less than the other, both unfurled from the same seed. Our mother planted and our people watered, and I hold that close. I carry us like I was ordered to by something older than the distance that developed. Whatever we became, we came from the same vessel. Same blood, different road, that's not a fact. Same roots, different canopies, that's not a rupture. What grew between us isn't distance, it's just dimension. Two men from the same source expanding different directions. You my brother, whether the roads run parallel or not. Everything we came from, everything we got, came from the same woman, same floor, same building, same blood, different roads, still something. The new people in your life don't know the origin story, don't know the version of you before the territory changed around you, before the new landscape developed. And I hold that version close, it's still embedded in everything you do. I can see it in the details, the way you move, the way you handle when something derails. You learn that on the same stoop I learned it on, and no amount of different roads erases where that's from. I see our father in the angle of your patience. I see our mother in the way you handle situations that don't have clean answers, that's not gone. That's the inheritance running underneath, it's on. And both of us, regardless of the zip codes now, regardless of the different languages we've learned somehow. Same blood, same source, same irreducible beginning. That's the thing that all the distance never had a chance of finishing. So here's what I wanna say before the record ends. We don't need the same address to still be friends. The way we were at 7, at the deepest level, we are still exactly that, regardless of the several 100 miles of different worlds that live between us. All the new vocabulary that we used to mean us now. To describe the lives we built, it doesn't change. The fundamental frequency is still the same range. And I'll pick up on the first ring any hour. And the things you can't say to anyone else, that power still belongs between us. That's not dependent on proximity, that's a different kind of architecture. Same blood timidity, same source, same building, same woman, same floor. Different roads just means we covered more ground together, that's the whole of it, that's the measure. Same blood, different roads, same irreplaceable treasure. Same blood, different roads, that's not a fract. Same roots, different canopies, that's not a rupture. Rule between us isn't distance, it's just dimension. Two men from the same source expanded in different directions. You my brother, whether the roads run parallel or not. Everything we came from, everything we got, came from the same woman, same floor, same building, same blood, different roads, but still some. Same game run, same game run, different roads, still something. Nobody tells you about the exit tax. Find out after.
The day I left, I thought the hard part was behind me. Spent so many years trying to find a door that when it opened, I just walked through. Didn't look back, didn't process, didn't do any accounting of what leaving would require. Just moved into the new coordinates like a buyer who closes on a property without reading the terms and finds the full cost of ownership as it confirms itself in the daily living. That's the exit tax. Nobody itemizes it, nobody tracks the specific deductions that come with the departure. Every relationship recalibrated, every charter of your original community quietly revised. By your absence, you're still there but eulogized in small ways, redefining conversations where your name comes up in past tense situations.
The exit costs something nobody quoted. Every mile you gain something got eroded. Back at the source, and the further that you travel, the more of the original map slowly unraveled. Nobody charges you at the door when you leave. The bill arrives monthly, that's the exit tax received.
My mother's pride is genuine, I know that without question, but underneath it is a loneliness I can hear in the expression she uses when she tells the neighbors where I'm living now. A geography that answers what but never answers how it feels to have the distance between Sunday dinners stretched from blocks to hours and the winters. of that transaction aren't fully clear to me, because what I gained in one column cost me entries in another I didn't fully value, until the balance sheet confirmed what was actual and irretrievable. You can visit but you can't reinstall. The proximity of childhood can't make the call at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday feel the same when the area code confirms the whole terrain has changed, and the man who left is not the man who visits, and the place that raised him only knows the initial.
The exit cost something nobody quoted. Every mile you gain something got eroded. Back at the source, and the further that you traveled, the more of the original map slowly unraveled. Nobody charges you at the door when you leave. The bill arrives monthly, that's the exit tax received.
And here's the thing, the people who stay will never say, not because they're bitter, because they have no way to articulate the thing that living inside it produces over years of watching you collect the uses of a freedom they can see from where they're standing, across a distance that requires no expanding. For them to measure, they can feel the width of it every time you visit, and the fit is slightly off, like a coat you wore at 17 that almost works but shows exactly where you've been. And they've been here, and here has changed around them, but they changed with it, and you came back and found them in a context you no longer fully read, and they can see that, and they let you lead through the visit with your outside questions, and send you back with food and warm expressions, and never say the thing that lives underneath, that the exit cost them too. That's the grief nobody accounts for on either side of the door. The tax is mutual, that's what the exit's for.
The exit cost something nobody quoted. Every mile you gain something got eroded. Back at the source, and the further that you traveled, the more of the original map slowly unraveled. Nobody charges you at the door when you leave. The bill arrives monthly, that's the exit tax received.
The door went both ways. I just didn't know that when I walked through.
Year 7.
We don't fight the way we used to, that's not progress. It's more like we learned each other's distances and operate inside them with a practice navigation that looks like peace from outside, different designation from the inside. More like a negotiated silence where the things we don't address have found an alliance with the ordinary furniture of daily life. The same coffee cup, same side of the bed, same wife, same man, but different versions of the original. The ones who stood in that room and made it ritual are in here somewhere underneath the years of living, underneath the accumulated cost of giving everything to building something that required more than either one of us were fully hired to provide. We showed up anyway and learned the rest, but learning costs us something, and the manifest of what we spent sits in the room between us sometimes when neither one of us is talking. Year 7, nobody writes the manual for this. The part where love becomes a practice, not a feeling. Year 7, everything the early years got wrong gets corrected or it calcifies, that's the dealing. Year 7, nobody warned us about at the beginning. Year 7 is where you find out what you're building. Year 7 is where you find out what you're building. I was easier to love before I was fully known, before the patterns and the flaws were fully shown in the daily light of cohabitation, before she seen me fail without an explanation that held up, before she knew the specific texture of my worst mood, before she read the lecture in my silence and knew which version it was, before the mystery resolved itself, because proximity over years is a particular solvent that dissolves the image into the actual respondent. And what she found underneath the presentation was a man more complicated than the invitation he extended when the stakes were still performative, and I found her same way. The normative got stripped and what remained was actual, and actual requires a different kind of contractual agreement, not the one we made in that room, but the one we make again some Tuesday afternoon when the choice presents itself without ceremony, and we choose it again low-key, no testimony. Year 7, nobody writes the manual for this. The part where love becomes a practice, not a feeling. Year 7, Everything the early years got wrong gets corrected or it calcifies. That's the dealing.
Year 7.
Nobody warned us about at the beginning.
Year 7.
Is where you find out what you're building.
Year 7.
That's where you find out what you're building. And here's what I know that I didn't know then. The version of this that survives to year 10 isn't the one that coasted on the original feeling. It's the one where both of them committed to the dealing with each other as they actually are, not as they were at the beginning, when the bar was set by circumstance and early chemistry and carried by the momentum of discovery. That's a different engine from the one required to move through year 7 when the fuel defied. The first few years is normalized into the texture of a life you're building through. And the building is the thing, the actual construction of a life that holds weight. That's the real seduction. Not the beginning, but the middle, when you know every difficult thing about each other and still show up on Tuesday morning at the same table and choose it again. That's the only fable worth telling. Not the beginning, not the ending. The Tuesday in the middle, that's the thing worth defending.
Year 7.
Nobody writes the manual for this. The part where love becomes a practice, not a feeling.
Year 7.
Everything the early years got wrong gets corrected or it calcifies. That's the dealing.
Year 7.
Nobody warned us about at the beginning.
Year 7.
It's where you find out what you're building.
Year 7.
It's where you find out what you're building. Year 7. You choose it again, or you don't. That's the whole question.
Year 7.
Room 4. Tuesday visiting hours. Ward B. She's been in that bed since the 3rd of the month, and the doctors rotate through on a schedule that runs independent of a specific situation. Each one reviewing the chart with the patience of a man running 20 other rooms simultaneously, who will not meet her eyes when he speaks to me about the plan, which changes every 48 hours, like they're adjusting something minor, not the powers of her continued existence. And I sit there translating the language into something I can share with her without the clinical detachment. The terminology designed to put a distance between the decision and the weight of it, so she can sign a form without the full rate of it landing on her. And I carry that in the hallway on the way to the elevator. That's the doorway into what a hospital does to a family that didn't arrive with private insurance casually. Ward B is not where they send the ones with options. Ward B is where the system runs its operations on the people that is sorted at the intake, the ones who zip code told it everything at first take. Same diagnosis, different corridor, different outcome written on the door before you walk in. Ward B is not a place of supposition, a sign before arrival. That's the condition. I watched the man get moved to a private room on Thursday. Same diagnosis, different paperwork, different Thursday. Different outcome, different level of attention from the same staff operating in the same institution. And nobody said it out loud because nobody had to. The economics of the ward already had you. Saw it before the first blood draw confirmed anything, before the first result returned. And I'm not naive, I know how systems operate. I studied it enough to understand the freight of historical design embedded in the procedure, but knowing something and then watching as a reader of the actual unfolding of different calibrations. And what I watched in that room across 4 rotations of attending physicians over 6 days was a woman receiving the minimum the system pays out to the category she was filed under. And the category was assigned by the number on an intake form and the address it contained and the insurance status that the intake form explained. Ward B is not where they send the ones with options. Ward B is where the system runs its operation on the people that is sorted at the intake, the ones who zip code told it everything at first take. Same diagnosis, different corridor, different outcome written on the door before you walk in. Ward B is not a place of supposition, a sign before arrival. That's the condition.
on day 4 if she was going home. And I said yes because I needed her to hold on. And the yes was true in intention, if not certainty. And I sat with that difference, that's the surgery. Nobody performs in the room, the internal one, where you calculate the truth against what needs to be done to keep a person moving through a difficult passage. And I chose the candor number in that calculus, which is its own kind of love, pragmatic and specific. Not the greeting card variety, more hieroglyphic, more like the language of a family that learned to communicate in pressure. Everything earned through necessity rather than abundance. And I'm putting it on the record with redundance, because the people who built Ward B counted on the silence of the families who wait in it. That's where the con lies permanently, in the assumption of a quiet. And I'm done with quiet, that's the end of the diet. Ward B is not where they send the ones with options. Ward B is where the system runs its operations. On the people that is sorted at the intake, the ones whose zip codes hold it everything at first take. Same diagnosis, different corridor, different outcome, written on the door before you walk in. Ward B is not a place, it's a position. A sign before arrival, that's the condition. Same building, different outcomes. Same disease. That's the whole report.
She doesn't know I watch her. She thinks I'm just visiting. She moves through the kitchen the same way she always moved. Every item in its place by a logic only she approved. And I used to find it maddening at 14. Now I'm 38 and the whole design I've seen replicate itself inside my own apartment without any conscious decision. Same logic, same route between the counter and the cabinet and the drawer. And I stood in my own kitchen one morning and saw her in my hands in the angle of the inventory. I do before I cook, same category of woman operating in a space she made functional by a particular discipline, not optional. In her generation, required and internalized, and I carry it now fully, and I'm not surprised, but I am moved by it. The specific way a woman's methods pass without a formal transfer date. What she passed down wasn't what she named, wasn't what she said she wanted me to take. It was in the hands, in the way the morning ran, in the specific patience she applied to every plan that didn't land the way she drawn it. What she passed down, I didn't know I wanted till I found it, operating in my own behavior years after I thought I'd moved past her. She raised us on a budget that required mathematics. I didn't understand until I ran my own analytics on what it cost to do what she did on what she had. And I sat with that number for a long time, felt the sad and beautiful convergence of it, the specific genius of a woman who made abundance from the meanest set of inputs and produced a childhood that I didn't know was modest till adulthood. Compared it to the standard and ran the differential, and came back to her with a new credential of appreciation. I didn't have the language for at 20, but now I do. And now the visits mean plenty more than they did when I was running from the mirror. She represented which I couldn't see clearer until I became the mirror for someone else and understood exactly what she felt. What she passed down wasn't what she named, wasn't what she said she wanted me to take. It was in the hands, in the way the morning ran, in the specific patience she applied to every plan that didn't land the way she's drawn it. What she passed down, I didn't know I wanted till I found it, operating in my own behavior years after I thought I moved past her. She's slower now, and I watch her in the kitchen, and the watching has a quality it didn't have before. The knowledge that this particular motion through this particular space with this particular devotion has a number of remaining performances, and I don't know the number. And that morning this landed full weight. I stood in her doorway watching her make coffee the Thursday morning way. She's always made it and I didn't announce myself, just watched like I was filing it, archiving myself into the specific texture of the ordinary that I'll carry forward as my primary inheritance. Not property, not objects, not the instruction she gave in words, but this, the reconstruction of a morning in the kitchen with a woman who knew exactly how to make a life from what she had to use, and did it every day without a ceremony, and left the method running in me. That's the only testimony. What she passed down wasn't what she named, wasn't what she said she wanted me to take. It was in the hands, in the way the morning ran, in the specific specific patience she applied to every plan that didn't land the way she drawn it. What she passed down, I didn't know I wanted till I found it, operating in my own behavior years after I thought I moved past her. Years after I thought I moved past her. I'm still learning her after all this time.
Anger is a full-time occupation. I didn't realize it until I quit.
I carried it so long it stopped feeling like a weight, started feeling like a feature, like a permanent estate. I own inside my chest, fully furnished, every grievance catalog, every wrong burnished to a specific shine I could locate in the dark and pull out at the appropriate moment. That's the mark of a man who organizes pain into a system and called it clarity. And nobody missed him, pointing it out because from outside it looked like conviction, and conviction reads the strength in most jurisdictions. So I moved through years of rooms with it packed neatly, behind every sentence, operating discreetly, underneath the surface of my daily presentation. A low frequency grievance running the foundation of most decisions, most responses, most assessments of every room I walk into. That's the lesson I was teaching myself without a curriculum, and I didn't feel it leaving. That's the delirium. The anger didn't leave like I expected, didn't announce itself, didn't get rejected. In some dramatic resolution, it just tired, and what came after wasn't peace, just something quieter, something that didn't require the same maintenance, something that left room for different maintenance. What came after anger was just space, and space turned out to be the more uncomfortable place. Because anger is a very efficient occupant, it fills every available square foot. No argument with silence, no negotiation with the empty, no sitting with the parts of you that went hungry underneath the grievance. And when it vacated, the square footage revealed itself and waited for me to decide what went in the vacancy. And that decision was the actual emergency, not the anger. That was just a symptom. What the anger was protecting was the system of beliefs about my own unlovability that I'd never examined with any ability for honest reckoning. Because the anger kept me too busy for that particular danger of sitting with yourself in an unfurnished room and asking what lives here when the grievance moves. The anger didn't leave like I expected, didn't announce itself, didn't get rejected. In some dramatic resolution, it just tired, and what came after wasn't peace, just something quieter, something that didn't require the same maintenance, something that left room for different maintenance. What came after anger was just space, and space turned out to be the more uncomfortable place. Anger didn't leave like I expected, didn't announce itself, didn't get rejected. Anger didn't leave like I expected, didn't announce itself, never rejected. So here's what I found in the unfurnished room: a man who needed things he hadn't given permission to need, who wanted things he decided were for other people, who divided himself from the soft and calculations early as a survival mechanism, as translations of a childhood that rewarded being hard and taxed the visible need. So I barred the access, and the anger was the bouncer, and the very effective one, the announcer of every violation before it got close enough to require the vulnerability of the actual rough interior counting of what I actually wanted from this life, from the people in it, haunted by the suspicion that wanting it was weakness, and anger was the armor against the thesis being tested. So when the armor came off, what I found underneath was just a man soft. In the specific places years of armor had been protected. That's the karma of the whole arrangement, and I'm sitting with it now. Not fixed, not resolved, just present somehow. In the room, I furnish slowly with the actual, without the anger managing the contractual terms of every entry. That's the whole report. The anger left and left me at the start.
The anger didn't leave like I expected. Didn't announce itself, didn't get rejected. In some dramatic resolution, it just tired. And what came after wasn't peace, just something quieter. Something that didn't require the same maintenance. Something that left room for different maintenance. What came after anger was just space, and space turned out to be the more uncomfortable place. Make it. Nigga didn't leave like I expected. Announce itself. Nigga didn't leave like I expected. Announce itself. It was empty. The room was empty. I had to decide what to put out.
Same event. Two different reports, check the frequency. The same incident gets two different translations, depending on the outlet and the assumed destinations of the audience. I watched it happen in real time, side by side comparison. Same crime, same footage, different framing of the subject. Different adjectives assigned to the object of the story. Different verbs describing motion. Different volume applied to the emotional ocean of the people most affected. And the calibration of whose grief gets amplified in the narration versus whose gets mentioned in the 14th paragraph. Below the fold, that's not accidental math. That's an editorial decision made upstream by people who decided what the story means before the facts were fully in, before the names were confirmed. Already running with the frames they had pre-built for the category assigned to the subject of the story, and the subject never gets to read the assignment before it ships. That's the primary misalignment. Check the frequency. Who controls the signal? Who decides which grief becomes the ritual? A public mourning and which one gets the footnote? Check the frequency, that's the whole antidote to the version they assemble for your consumption. Same event, different report, that's not assumption. That's the documented pattern of the architecture. Check the frequency, that's the only lecture. I grew up in a neighborhood that generated news on a specific schedule, and the views that arrived to describe us came from outside with a vocabulary that had never occupied the same space as the thing it was describing. And I watched the translation, watched the scribing of our daily into a narrative I didn't recognize from the inside, but that everyone outside received as the authoritative account, and built their understanding of us on that mount of misrepresented data, and then acted on those understandings. And the impacted were the people who got described without consultation, without a seat at the table of their own narration. And that's the mechanism, that's the engine of how a community becomes a legend of its own worst moment in the public record, while the actual texture gets smaller in the edited version grows until it's all that's searchable, and all that's quotable, and all that's teachable in any classroom that receives the standard curriculum. And I'm tired of the candor being treated as a radical position. It's just the facts, that's the only mission. Check the frequency. Who controls the signal? Who decides which grief becomes the ritual? A public mourning and which one gets the footnote? Check the frequency, that's the whole antidote to the version they assembled for your consumption. Same event, different report, that's not assumption. That's the documented pattern of the texture. Check the frequency, that's the only lecture. So here's the practical response to the architecture. Not the protest, not the gesture, though those have their place. I mean the daily, specific practice of consuming carefully every source that claims to speak about your people. Reading the omission as clearly as the sequel to what's printed, asking who decided what was left out and why it was divided from the main story. Following the editorial to its financial source, the categorical funders of the outlet and the interests they protect. That's not conspiracy, that's digress. Wait, that's the opposite. That's the basic literacy of a media consumer operating in a century where the signal reaches everyone simultaneously, and the ones who own the tower decide instantaneously what the event becomes in the public memory and what it doesn't. That's the inventory I'm asking every person in this room to take before the next report arrives and tries to make the same old substitution, your experience for their description. Check the frequency every time it plays, that's the whole curriculum. Check the frequency. Who controls the signal? Check the frequency. Who Who controls the signal? Who decides which grief becomes the ritual? A public mourning and which one gets the footnote? Check the frequency, that's the whole antidote to the version they assembled for your consumption. Same event, different report, that's not assumption. That's the documented pattern of the architecture. Check the frequency, that's the only lecture. Same event, two different reports. You already know which one ran first. I was 23 and completely certain. That's the whole problem. Yeah. I look at photographs from '84 and study the body language of a man who had no idea what he was inside, who walked into every room with a confidence assembled from the costume of who we needed the room to believe he was, and the room mostly complied, and the applause of that compliance became the evidence. He used to confirm the whole performance, the precedence of external validation as the primary instrument of self-knowledge, which is a particular imprisonment that looks like freedom from the outside. It feels like it too until the tide of other people's opinions recedes, and you're left with just yourself and your needs in a quiet room without the costume on, and you realize the man in the photograph is gone. At 40, looking back at 23, I can name every room I wasn't ready for. At 40, looking back, I see the machinery of a boy operating with a man's vocabulary without the corresponding interior. At 40, I can finally be the historian of my own confusion. That's the only gift that years provide if you allow the shift. I was in love twice in my 20s in ways that I didn't understand at the time. The haze of my own unexamined needs made me a difficult architect of anything requiring the reciprocal vulnerability of actual intimacy. And I moved through both of those episodes in the city of my own self-interest without fully recognizing the other person as a complete human. The organizing principle of my engagement was consumption, not connection. And I don't say that with compunction, just as observation of a version of myself that I've since put carefully on a different shelf. Not shame, more like the specific notation in the margin of a document, a notation that says this section requires revision, and the revision is already in the living that follow. That's the accounting I keep, not flagellation, just the honest receipt. At 40, looking back at 23, I can name every room I wasn't ready for. At 40, looking back, I see the machinery of a boy operating with a man's vocabulary without the corresponding interior. At 40, I can finally be the historian of my own confusion. That's the only gift that years provide if you allow the shift. And here's the specific texture of the gift the years provide if you don't let it drift in nostalgia or regret, both of which are distortions of the same material, a stitch in the wrong direction. What the years provide is context, the ability to reside in the full picture of a moment you lived inside without the pressure of the ego as a guide to what it meant. At 23, everything meant something about me. Every event was a verdict on my value, every outcome a referendum on the whole sum of my worth. And at 40, the same events are just events with different consequence, and it's evidence embedded in a larger sequence that I can see now from a farther distance. And the man in the photograph was doing the best available on behalf of the information he had at the time, which was incomplete, which is the prime condition of being 23, of being any age, but youth compounds the seeing with the certainty that what you see is everything, and what you don't see doesn't need a reckoning. At 40, you know better, and knowing better isn't wisdom exactly, more like a letter you write to the man in the photograph that says, I see you, I was you, and the math works out just not the way you thought it would. And that's not failure, that's the whole neighborhood of being human. And at 40, looking back at 23, I can name every room I wasn't ready for. At 40, looking back, I see the machinery of a boy operating with a man's vocabulary without the corresponding interior. At 40, I can finally be the historian of my own confusion. That's the only gift that
years provide if you allow the shit. I was certain about anything. I was wrong about most of it. Both of those things are true.
We had the argument on a Wednesday about nothing, about everything compressed into nothing. The specific way a decade of minor frictions can't arrive in a Tuesday evening kitchen, dressed as a dispute about a calendar entry. And I watched us from somewhere above the inventory of grievances we were exchanging and thought, this is not what we meant, this is the court. Said a many years of letting things accumulate, because addressing them required to calibrate a vulnerability neither one of us was ready for at the particular juncture. The fuss was never about the calendar, we both knew it in real time and kept going, because somewhere in it was the actual conversation we needed. And this was the only door that opened.
Only human, which means we get it wrong on the Tuesday, right after we got it right on Monday. Only human, which means the love is not a feeling alone, it's a practice, and the practice has a ceiling. On some days, and you come back the next morning and start again, that's the only warning. Any hunch you give before you sign the thing. Only human is the whole offering.
Only human is the whole offering. She laughs at things I don't find funny, and I learned to love that gap, the uncanny persistence of her specific sense of humor, operating independent of mine. The rumor that compatibility means convergence is the first thing that the actual submergence in a life together teaches you is false. It means something else, the daily walls of two people whose differences don't dissolve, but whose tolerance and appreciation evolve into something more texture than agreement, into a recognition that the treatment of another person's fullness as a feature, not a problem, is the actual creature. Comfort of a long relationship, the room it makes for both of you to become
only human, which means we get it wrong.
Means we get it wrong
on the Tuesday, right after we got it right on Monday.
Right on Monday.
Only human, which means the love is not a feeling.
Not a feeling.
Alone is a practice, and the practice has a ceiling.
There's a ceiling.
On some days, and you come back the next morning and start again. That's the only warning.
Go on that.
Anyone should give before you sign the thing. Only human is the whole offering. Running.
Only human.
Running.
Only human is the whole offering. I wanna say something about the ordinary that never makes the record. The February Tuesday when nothing extraordinary happens, and we're just two people in a life that fastens itself to the routine of morning coffee and the news, and her particular way of softly clearing the throat before she disagrees with something. And how I know that sound now, the way nothing else teaches you to know a sound through years of proximity, through all the tears and laughter and the silences between them, and the specific grammar we have for the interim.
spaces in our conversation that nobody else could read. A private nobody language that a decade builds between two people who committed to the unremarkable. The steeple of the whole arrangement isn't the ceremony, it's the February Tuesday, that's the testimony. I wanna leave on the record about love, not the arrival, not the ending, just the above average Tuesday that we didn't document and won't remember specifically, that went into the foundation of a life we built without the blueprint and without the guilt of imperfection slowing down the building. That Tuesday is the whole thing, that's the feeling.
Only human, which means we get it wrong.
Yes, we get it wrong
On a Tuesday, right after we got it right on Monday.
right on Monday.
Only human, which means the love is not a feeling.
It's not a feeling,
Alone it's a practice, and the practice has a ceiling.
that's a ceiling.
On some days, and you come back the next morning and start again. That's the only warning anyone should give before you sign the thing. Only human is the whole offering.
Only songs, only human is the whole offering. 10 years, just a Tuesday,
Yeah.
that's the whole record.
Yeah. Every shortcut has a receipt. You just don't get it at the time. First shortcut I took, I was 19, skipped the reading. Showed up to the conversation bleeding. Confidence I didn't have the foundation for. And the room knew it before I hit the door, all the way closed. And I learned it the hard way, that borrowed authority expires by the start day of any real examination. And the bluff that worked in low stakes rooms isn't enough when the stakes arrive. That was the first receipt, itemized 1 year of operating incomplete. On the basis of a performance, missing substance, filed it, moved on, adjusted the instructions.
Every shortcut has a receipt. The cost arrive after the discount feels complete. Every corner cut comes with a later tax. The receipt shows up when you're not looking at the facts. It's not regret. Regret is the wrong category. It's just accounting. That's the whole inventory.
Second shortcut took the relationship credit without doing the emotional work to get it. Showed up with the language of a man who processed things he hadn't processed. And she heard the wings of the performance before she heard the truth, which came out later with the compound interest proof that every deferred payment collects a percentage. That's not in the original agreement. The vintage of that lesson is still in rotation in my understanding of what intimacy requires. No outstanding balances, pay as you go, or the arrears accumulate into something that appears later as an unskilled your conversation you weren't prepared for. That's the education, the shortcut deferred.
Every shortcut has a receipt. The cost arrives after the discount feels complete.
Yeah.
Every corner cut comes with a later tax. The receipt shows up when you're not looking at the facts. It's not regret. Regret is the wrong category. It's just accounting. That's the whole inventory.
Third shortcut was professional, took the opportunity. Before I was ready, operated in the community. Your people who were ready with a borrowed readiness. They held for 18 months before the steadiness required to maintain it, exposed the gap between the image and the actual map of my preparation. And the cost was specific, a reputation in a room that was terrific. For the first year required correction. For the following two, that's the intersection of ambition and timing when you override. The timing with the ambition and the pride that made the shortcut feel like acceleration was the same pride that made the remediation
more expensive than it needed to be, because I couldn't acknowledge the deficiency quickly enough. That's the compound interest on a shortcut taken with the wrong assessment of the current account balance. And the lesson is available on the receipt if you're in the session of honest reading. When it arrives, most people file it under grievance, make it the sequel of someone else's failure. I'm putting it under tuition, that's the accurate fit. For every shortcut receipt I ever signed, the cost is education with a longer timeline than the original plan. That's not tragedy, that's just arithmetic with a different cadence.
Every shortcut has a receipt. The cost arrives after the discount feels complete. Every corner cut comes with a later tax. The receipt shows up when you're not looking at the facts. It's not regret. Regret is the wrong category. It's just accounting. That's the whole inventory.
Every receipt filed, every lesson paid for, no refunds.
They reminisce over you. They reminisce over you. For you. For you. They reminisce over you. For you. For you. They reminisce over you.
Spinning, caught up in the spin cycle, on a high wire with my eyes closed, with a line of blindfolds. I'm just trying to find home. I know I'm a mile from where the signs go. So now I write this letter to whoever might know. It's not quite the place you ever wanted to go. I don't know if I'll be home before the sun turns cold, before the moment where the shadows begin. I gotta go, I'm not staying here again.
Trying to find some peace of mind. Trying to find what remains of the man you once knew.
I can't stay, I can't stay.
For you. For you.
I can't stay, I can't stay. What is this feeling that you never let go? What's on the tip of your tongue that you can't quite hold? Maybe this time you could try being bold and speak the things that you know. Your heart's the warmest place I ever call home, and I think I know where I'm supposed to go. And if I go there, I might see you again. I don't know, but I can't stay here again.
Trying to find some peace of mind.
After everything,
Morning still comes, same as before. The education costs what it costs, and what was built from what was lost stands in the place where nothing was before the work began. That's because nothing worth standing was ever free. Of the cost of standing, that's the fee. The process charges at the back end. When the invoice arrives without a friend to split it with, you pay it from the column that accumulated quietly. A solemn register of every morning you showed up when showing up was the whole job. You filled the cup
from the available, not the preferred, and the preferred arrived later and conferred legitimacy on the whole arrangement. But the arrangement was already ancient by then, already load-bearing, already structural. The legitimacy was just a visual. After everything, the morning is still the answer. After everything, you still have to be the dancer before the music tells you what the rhythm is. After everything, the work is still just this: waking up and choosing what you carry forward. Waking up and choosing not to be the hoarder of every wound that wants to take up residence. After everything, the morning is the evidence. I took an inventory over 14 songs of everything the building cost, the longs and the shorts of a life examined from the inside. Every lesson that crammed into the years between the start and now. Every room that taught me something about how a person actually operates beneath the performance, beneath the wreath of identity they arrange for public viewing. And what I found in all the pursuing of the honest version of the reckoning is that the course was worth the beckoning forward, that it represented every tax, every receipt, every wrong track that turned into the only road that got me to the understanding I now hold was necessary in a way I couldn't have designed and wouldn't have chosen but find in retrospect to be the actual curriculum of a life that has an actual continuum of meaning running underneath the noise. After everything, the morning is still the answer. After everything, you still have to be the dancer before the music tells you what the rhythm is. After everything, the work is still just this: waking up and choosing what you carry forward. Waking up and choosing not to be the hoarder of every wound that wants to take up residence. After everything, the morning is the evidence. So here's what I wanna leave on this recording before the loop runs out, before the morning takes the studio back and the equipment cools and the session becomes the shipment of everything we made across these hours. The whole accounting of the particular powers that a life exerts on a person willing to examine it honestly. The filling in of every blank the system left when it processed us. Every theft of knowledge, every door assigned by a zip code, every ceiling designed before we walked in, every room that tried to tell us what we'd become before we'd had a word on it ourselves. All 14 tracks, all of our shelves lined with what we built from what remained after the subtraction, after the sustained pressure of the becoming. Here's what stands: a person with their history in their hands, not as a wound, not as a weapon, not as an excuse or an alibi, but what it actually is, which is the raw material of a life still in progress, the serial number of a human being in the middle of the chapter, still composing, still the riddle and the answer simultaneously. And morning comes again immediately after everything, and that's not consolation, that's just the fact of it. The foundation is intact, the work continues, that's the close, not a bow, not a resolution, just the most honest thing available. Morning comes and you're still here, and everything that numbs you to that fact is just the noise between you and the actual choice, which is always the same choice. Wake up, show up, do the work. That's the whole record, both volumes, that's it. After everything, the morning is still the answer. After everything, you still have to be the dancer before the music tells you what the rhythm is. After everything, the work is still just this: waking up and choosing what you carry forward. Waking up and choosing not to be the hoarder of every wound that wants to take up residence. After everything, the morning is the evidence. After everything, the morning is the evidence.